What's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you while you were traveling? You're listening to the Master Your Lens podcast, episode 151.
Hey, John Lee Dumas here, the founder and host of EO Fire, and welcome to the Master Your Lens podcast, the photography podcast dedicated to sharing inspiring stories, technical tips, and powerful secrets to help you become a better photographer. And now, your host, Matthew Jordan Smith.
Hello, Photography Nation. Welcome back to the show. Well, if you listen to this podcast often, you already know I missed last week's episode. Let me first say I am sorry. Last week, I traveled to Las Vegas for the WPPI photo convention. Yes, I knew I had the podcast, and I recorded the session right before I left, loaded it on an external hard drive, and I planned to upload it last Wednesday morning once I arrived in Las Vegas. Now, I actually brought 2 hard drives with me because, well, you never know. However, when I got to Las Vegas, I found out not one, but both external hard drives failed on me. Now, this has never happened before. I'm sure we've all had one hard drive die on you. Those things happen. But to have 2 fail in the same week at the same time, well, that's never happened before. So on my failed hard drive, guess what was there? Last week's podcast. So please forgive me for missing last week's episode. To my friends in Japan, sumimasen gomenasai. Please forgive me. Now, while I was in Vegas, I ran to the Apple store and purchased another hard drive to get me through the trip because I did a lot of shooting, but I never would have guessed I could have 2 hard drives die on me at the same time. What's the chance of that? Well, I'm still not sure what happened. The hard drives were in my carry-on, so not checked. In my carry-on case was a case where I had my cameras and lights. Lights, cameras, lenses. I'm always very careful with that carry-on. So what happened? I have no idea. But at this very moment, those hard drives are being recovered. Now, for those of you who've ever gone through this process of losing a hard drive, I want to make a recommendation on software for you to recover your data. After talking to quite a few friends, the one that seems to work the best so far is Ease US Data Recovery Wizard. That's what I'm using right this very second. And so far, I'm really impressed with how things are going. It's found all my files, found them in the original folders, and now it's in the process of recovering them. So for those of you who've ever lost data on a hard drive, had a hard drive fail on you, Ease US Data Recovery Wizard. Give it a try. So far, I've been very impressed. It's now March 4th, 2020. And this month, we continue to talk about light. And this week, we are talking about your very first light. What do I recommend to people as their very first light? Well, the very first light I was taught to use was a strobe. I was a student in art school, knew nothing about light, and my professor taught us about strobe light. I did the assignments like everyone else, but I'll be honest, I still didn't get it. I continued working with strobe light, with umbrellas, with softboxes, trying to make my pictures look decent, but I was never happy with the results. I couldn't understand how to work with strobe light. For a while, I stopped using it and resorted to just using natural light. Natural light was easy to see, and I was getting better results by using natural light. That all changed when I became a photo assistant. Now I'm in New York City working as a photo assistant, and the photographer I was working for is using constant light. Up until that point, I'd never used constant light before. But that's when everything changed for me. For the first time ever, I started really understanding light. I started to be able to see light and see it in a way that I could not see it with strobe light. These first photographers that I worked for were doing some amazing assignments, shooting for Victoria's Secrets and shooting everything with constant light. The light was beautiful. It had a warm quality to it. And I found out the importance of different types of light. All of a sudden, I became excited about using constant light because this I could understand. This I could see. And I found out how to finally make my pictures look the way I wanted them to look. Now, what is constant light? Well, if you've ever used a flash on top of your camera, a speed light, you're aware of a strobe light. With a speed light, you take a picture and the strobe on top of your camera fires. Or if you're in studio, using professional lights like ProPhoto, those are strobe lights as well. However, a constant light, you turn that light on and it stays on constantly. There's no strobing effect. It's a constant light source. Just like when you turn on a light in your home, you turn the switch on and that light stays on. Today, when I'm teaching people about light, I always say, start with a constant light source. Now today, I love my strobe lights, but in the beginning, I couldn't understand how to use them. I couldn't see strobe light. I learned how to use light by first beginning with constant light. And guess what? Today, I use both constant light and strobe light. But I learned how to use strobe light by beginning with constant light. This year at WPPI, the Wedding and Portrait Photography Convention, I walked the floor. And the booth that was the most exciting to me was the light and motion booth. What does light and motion make? Constant lights. If you've listened to this podcast, you know I love my ProPhoto strobe lights. But I also use constant lights from time to time as well. And the light and motion lights are really powerful lights. At the Light and Motion booth, a photographer set up a studio that was very unique. You see, it was a rain booth. It was a very elaborate set, and I was shocked they could do that in the convention center. But they got permission to make a rain booth. Now imagine this. It's a studio with a mini pool rigged to look like rain is coming down. Very elaborate. And the photographer is shooting dancers in the rain in puddles of water. The booth was packed with people because as he shot, others were around him shooting as well. Very cool to see. From the looks of it, he was using several constant lights and basically using them as a backlight situation. So the water is backlit and the dancers are backlit. A really beautiful situation. And because the images are backlit, the reflection in the water was also quite beautiful. As he spoke and shot, he gave the audience the settings that he was using, so they also could shoot as he was shooting. Now, it was a little chaotic because there were a lot of people around. and the dancers were having a great time. But the really exciting thing about this, everything was being shot with constant lights. In photography, we have many tools, but as the photographer, you need to know which tool is the right tool for each situation. There are jobs where you definitely want to use strobe light. But then there are jobs when you may do better to use a constant light source. The choice is always yours, but understand each tool offers you different possibilities. What's really cool about light and motion lights, this company began by making lights for divers. So, having lights around water is no problem. Taking some lights that they make underwater is no problem. And this opens up doors for new possibilities when working with lights and water. You may not want to do strobe light with water because of safety concerns. However, with these powerful, constant lights, it opens up the door for new possibilities with lights in different situations. So imagine this. You want to shoot using water, and you want to shoot in a situation that may be tricky using lights and water with strobe. You now have another option. I really enjoyed watching this photographer shoot. It was fun, and for a moment I pulled out my cell phone and shot a small video of him shooting. If you'd like to see that video, join me on the Facebook page, Photography Lighting Ninjas. I've posted the video there for you to see. Photography Lighting Ninjas is my free Facebook group dedicated to photography lighting. Please join us there. Every month, we'll have a live session talking about lighting. And this month is really special because this month, for the first time ever, I'm going to be giving away 4 Sekonic light meters. Stay tuned for information about that. Yes, you heard me right. This month, I'm giving away 4 Sekonic light meters. When you are working with constant light, it is important that you know exactly where your light is and where it isn't. How do you find out? By measuring the light. This month, I'm going to help you do just that by giving away 4 Sekonic light meters. Stay tuned for details on that. If you are new to lighting, stay with me because this month, I'm going to really help you understand light more than ever. Details are coming soon. All right, Photography Nation, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Master Your Lens podcast. Stay safe. A lot is going on in our world. Stay safe wherever you are. Get your camera out and shoot everything around you. Document your life where you are. Look for great light and make powerful pictures. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, yes, I have 2 brand new lights by Light and Motion. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. I'll be announcing information about the giveaway, the 4 light meters that I'm giving away this month, here on the podcast first. Make sure you subscribe so you know exactly when and how you can get your hands on one of the brand new light meters. Did I mention I'm giving away 4 brand new light meters? I'll be sharing a lot more with you, so stay tuned. I'm Matthew Jordan Smith, signing out for this week's episode of the Master Your Lens podcast. Always dream big. Bye for now.